Okay, so we're going to Italy for our fourth and final football club history video of the day. We're going to Parma. We're looking at Parma Calcio 1913, previously known as AS Parma between 1913 and 1968, and between 68 until 2015 was known as Parma Football Club. They took the name Parma Calcio in 1913 in 2015, following, well, we'll get to it, but they basically were bankrupt, forced into Serie D. Now, they've just been promoted back to Serie A, so they'll be playing in Serie A next season. They play at the Stadio Ennio Tardini, which has a capacity of 27,906. So, there has been financial instability regularly with this club, going back to pretty much foundation. There's been money issues throughout the club's history, famously in the late 60s and of course between 2003, 2004 till 2015, and we'll get to that. So there's been a lot of financial instability, but there's been some success. Between 92 and 2002 they won 8 major trophies. So we all know about Juan Sebastian Veron, obviously Gigi Buffon, Hernan Crespo. These were the stars of their glittering 90s and 2000s era before the Parmalat scandal, which we'll now get to. So in 2003, the Parmalat corruption scandal breaks in Italy. Callisto Tanzi was the guy who owned Parma F.C. He was also the chief executive of Parmalat. Now, Parmalat was a big food producing company. It still exists. It's been, it's still going. I bought some Parmalat products the other day, actually. They have the sectors in dairy, meat, food, like basically food and drink. It's a food and drink manufacturer. It owns dairies, abattoirs, all sorts. I bought some soft drinks literally the other day, made by Parmalat, a subsidiary of Parmalat. So they still exist, but the Parmalat financial scandal, hundreds of millions of euros disappeared. We're talking nearly €1 billion sort of disappeared from the company, and Callisto Tanzi was found guilty of embezzling quite a lot of that money, which led to a controlled administration that lasted from 2003 until 2007. Eventually, the club go bankrupt in 2015. They are refounded that year and enter Serie D, known as Parma Calcio 1913. They were obviously formerly known through their heyday as Parma FC, but initially were known as AS Parma. So, now let's talk about their honours, because they won a lot of silverware. When I was a kid, they were one of the top sides in Serie A. They never won Serie A. They were runners-up once in the 97-98 season, coming very, very close. But they won a lot of cup competitions, including in Europe. They won a lot of silverware. Very successful club. So, let's have a look at their success. The Coppa Italia is where they really start the ball rolling. They win it in the 91-92 season, their first ever major trophy. They win it again in the 98-99 season, and finally in 2001-2002 season, their last major honour. They've won the Supercoppa Italiana in 1999. They won the UEFA Cup twice in the 94-95 season and the 98-99 season. That is now known as the Europa League. They won the old UEFA Cup Winners Cup in the 92-93 season, and they won the UEFA European Super Cup in 1993 as well. So that is, in a very short space of time, a lot of silverware. They just never won the league, which I find very, very interesting considering how much money they were spending and the players that they had, including one of the best goalkeepers of all time in Gigi Buffon, one of the best strikers of all time in Hernan Crespo, and they just had a midfielder called Juan Sebastian Veron. Now, what is interesting is all these players were sold on. Buffon ends up, obviously, at Juventus. Crespo did actually end up at Chelsea, and Veron ended up at Manchester United. So there was that, but they were all glittering international players, brilliant players, and they helped build this Parma side into one of the juggernauts of Italian football for a 10-year spell. Their rivals are really interesting, though, because Parma, for most of their existence, hasn't actually been a Serie A club. They've been Serie B, Serie C, Serie D, been in all the various league systems, including Serie A. They've got some very interesting rivals more regionally. So, Reggiana is one of their biggest, in fact, their biggest rival, because of the Emilia-Romagna, should I say, region of Italy. Bologna is quite a big rival, and they're quite a successful club in Italian football. Modena as well. It's not too far from the city of Parma. Piacenza is another big rival. Cremonese is another big rival. Carrese from Tuscany, one of the lower league Italian clubs. Obviously Juventus. Vicenza, another big club in Italy. And Genova Cricket Football Club from Liguria. These are their big rivals that the fan base, the ultras, the tifosi see as, we've got to beat these guys. Now, everyone hates Juventus in Italy unless you're a Juventus fan. It's just a fact. But notice, no Inter Milan, no AC Milan, no Atalanta, no Napoli, no Roma, no Lazio, seen as the rivals. all clubs more regionally to the city of Parma in northeastern Italy are seen as their big rivals, and a lot of them, like Cremonese and Carrarese, aren't well known outside of Italy. Reggiana aren't overly successful. Bologna are quite successful. Modena are quite well known. Piacenza are quite well known. Vicenza, Genova, but they're not. They're more. They're a friendlier fan base as well. They're a very knowledgeable fan base, are the Parma fans. So there we go. There's a brief history of Parma Calcio 1913, formerly known as Parma F.C. Obviously, I will eventually do a video on the Parmalat corruption scandal on the other channel. It does impact, obviously, Parma quite badly. But this is a club that's had multiple issues financially. They went bankrupt in '68. They went bankrupt in 2015. Controlled administration for 4 years in the early to mid 2000s. So there's been money issues dogging this club for quite some time. They're back in Serie A for next season. Let's see if they can stay there this time. Last time they were, I think 2017, 2018, they got promotion to Serie A. Didn't last very long. Let's see if they can get back to that successful period they had in the 90s and early 2000s, where they won 8 major trophies in a 10-year span. But for most of their existence, they've been a pretty average side, apart from a 10-year spell when Parmalat were pumping money in and Callisto Tanzi were pumping money into the club. Apart from that, they weren't an overly successful side. Really, in all honesty, it's just 10 years. Just that 10-year spell where they win all this silverware, and then otherwise it's been financial chaos, mayhem and mismanagement. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts on Parma in the comments section below. Do you have any fond memories from the 90s and the 2000s of that great Parma side that dazzled us with some entertaining football and some great players? And I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.